If you are enjoying the Pivot Project podcast, please subscribe. Please keep up to date with what we're doing. I really, really will appreciate it, and Kay will even appreciate it even more. On today's episode of the Pivot Project podcast, we have Adeola and Ronke Jane, founders of Black Creative Trailblazers. In this episode, they talk about why it's important to have spaces to celebrate and champion Black creatives. They're building an amazing community and doing great work here in Manchester. They saw a need, and instead of not doing anything about it, they took it upon themselves to be the change that they wanted to see in the world. Let's get into it. Ladies.
Hey, Davita.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
It's our pleasure.
It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yes.
We met 4 months ago. So for context, for anyone who's listening, we met at the TikTok Creative Careers Festival. Mm-hmm. You were speaking there, weren't you?
Yes.
And the rest is history. Yeah. So as soon as I met you guys, you know what was weird? I saw you the week after.
Yes, we did.
And then I was like, so tell me, like, what do you guys do? Because I'd seen you already on Instagram, but in your words, how would you describe what you do?
We do a couple of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everything that we do surrounds creativity, community, and culture. So we've got 2 main organizations that we work with.
Mm-hmm. The first is Goodwill,
yeah,
which is our African print fashion brand, and we create clothes in West Africa,
mm-hmm,
Nigeria and Ghana. We work with local artisans in Abuja, Lagos, Accra, Kumasi,
mm-hmm,
and our goal is to invest in local communities while selling beautiful fashion across the world.
mm-hmm.
And our second organization is Black Creative Trailblazers. We are all about empowering and supporting Black creatives.
Mm-hmm.
We work with musicians, artists, photographers, poets, the whole range of like the creative scope.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we run workshops, events, all about empowering them, ensuring that they're in spaces where Black creativity is seen and valued, and we're all about reducing barriers to creating successful careers in the creative industry. So we do things from sip and pains to our monthly open mic nights to our biggest event of the year, which is an annual celebration of Black creativity known as the Black Creative Trailblazers Showcase.
Amazing, and that, you know, someone told me that might be coming up soon.
Yeah.
When is that coming?
That is on the 3rd of October at Aviva Studios.
Ooh.
And honestly, it's going to be spectacular. Good music, good fashion, but also amazing food. You're going to be like blown away by the amount of creativity in the room.
Amazing food.
Yes.
Amazing food.
Jollof.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it 3rd of October, you said?
3rd of October.
Okay,
Yes.
after my brother's wedding, I'll be there.
Yeah, girl.
I'll see you there. I'll see you there. But you know what's like amazing? When I first met you guys, I was like, I just felt like you were 2 lights, right? But also, you just dress really well.
Oh,
and we just had this conversation, didn't we? I was like, you always look really colourful, but it just makes sense, seeing as, you know, your first business essentially is about fashion, and then the next one, creativity.
Yeah.
But let's go backwards, because, you know, the Pivot Project's all about people pivoting, and you know, you didn't just kind of, you know, start here. You started way
vastly
back.
different industries.
100%. So can we circle back? Circle back?
Yes.
Circle back? No. Can we go backwards?
Can we go back? Yes.
Let's go back.
Awesome.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. So I think I started my career in law. So I'm a solicitor in England and Wales. I'm qualified in New York, and I've passed the bar there. And I'm also qualified in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I'm triple qualified, and I was working at a law firm here in Manchester. That was an international law firm. Worked there for I think a year, 18 months, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was good, but I didn't feel like I was helping people in the way that I had planned to. And I felt like the people who benefited from my expertise were like already multimillionaires. And I was kind of like, well, I wanted to help like the little person where I saw myself being a lawyer. And how can I do that? So I left there and I did some consulting at a smaller firm where I got to help like individuals with employment law and things like that. And that was better because I could actually see the impact on the little person who didn't know how to help themselves. And of course, I've been building this business ever since I'd gone to Nigeria. And so it was supposed to be a side project. It was never intended to be like a big thing. I looked around when I was here and I struggled all the time to find African print clothes. And I'd started the business, but it was like a weekend thing, right? Weekend evenings kind of thing. But then when I quit my job, I was kind of like, hey, I've got this business, I may as well focus on it. And we started doing more with the business. yeah, and that's how we kind of pivoted into that.
Yeah, so my pivot was slightly different. So I used to work in tech, which is like a vastly different industry.
Yeah.
So initially at uni, I studied politics with economics, Spanish, and psychology.
Wow.
Because I've always been the kind of person who couldn't decide on whether they wanted to do science or whether they wanted to do something artsy. And I was just like, why do I have to pick? I'll do both.
Yeah.
And then
That's what combined degrees are for, right?
Exactly. And then afterwards, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do because I knew I didn't want to go into a career in politics. But then I also didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I wanted to combine a bit of like that scientific brain and figuring things out, because I'd say I'm quite a good problem solver, with also like something a bit more interesting. So I worked on mobile banking apps, and that's what I did. Like I tested mobile banking apps. But after a while, I was just like, this is getting kind of repetitive. I looked at my bosses and nobody looked happy, and I was just like, okay, this is not a career I want for myself.
Yeah.
So then I tried to like pivot into a different career as a business analyst.
Right.
And I did that for a year as well. I was just like, that's also not for me. And at the time, Ade was moving back from Nigeria, and she'd like seen all these incredibly talented artisans in the markets in Nigeria, and she was just like, look, these clothes are beautiful. And she'd bring back the most stunning dresses. I'm talking like beautiful gowns, the most intricately made like dresses, and I'd be like, I need this, and I'd literally steal them, like typical little sister. I'll just like take them, and she'd be like, oh, have you seen my dress? I'll be like, what dress? Yeah. And like I'd walk down the street,
and it'd be so obvious because it's like a very particular print.
Yeah, she'd see a picture of me on Instagram and she's like, is this my dress? Like, but like as I'd walk down the streets, people would be like, oh, where'd you get your dress from? I'd be like, oh, it's made in Nigeria. And like eventually a couple of friends started requesting some, and we had an auntie who owned a shop in Manchester, and she started requesting them. And we're like, we could actually sell these. And someone told us about Depop, so we put a few items on Depop.
Yeah.
Adeola was handling the manufacturing side in Nigeria. I do like the deliveries and stuff in the UK and the final quality check. And eventually we're like, this is a whole business. Like people are ordering. We had orders from Italy, Spain, Germany. Like we're like, oh, this is amazing.
Like international.
Like international.
International.
And so we're like, okay, let's set up a website, and we did. And that's how Cultureville came to be. And in the process of creating Cultureville, we built such an incredible network of Black creatives in Manchester. We met other fashion designers, and I'm a poet as well. And so like we'd go to like a bunch of different open mics, and we'd run into other poets, and we just built this like thriving creative community. But over the years, we saw like a bunch of creators who were so talented would decide to like quit on their creative practice, not because they lacked any talent, but the opportunities weren't there. They didn't know where to get funding. They had big ideas, but not sure how to execute them. They lacked knowledge on the business side of creativity, because even though you are a creative, you're also an entrepreneur. Yeah. And you have to go out and make your own like income. You have to generate and broker those relationships. And so like nobody ever teaches you how to do that in school. We don't have a degree that covered that. And so like we wanted to sort of equip those around us and strengthen that side of things. And it started off with a one-off event called the Black Creative Soiree. And then that was the first event.
The first event actually happened in collaboration with the BIPC,
nice,
who created the generator.
Whoa,
which is where we're recording this now, which is absolutely unreal. Like what a full circle moment. I think Jonathan, who we just bumped into, was actually the guy that we told about the first idea.
Joking.
We had done a workshop about sustainable fashion with him that he'd invited us to do. And I think when we had the idea and the concept, I asked him, hey, can we have a meeting? Because I have these ideas. And I think he wanted to speak to us as well. And I was like, I have this idea. I look around Manchester in Black History Month, and there's nothing that's like enjoyable. That's like, I want to go and celebrate my Blackness. Everything is either really heavy or I can't afford it. Like a really expensive dinner. I want to do something that invites the community and that invites these incredible creatives to share their poetry and their music and their fashion and their food and the music. Let's dance. Like, let's have fun together and celebrate the best parts of being Black, right? Yeah. Because being Black is hard enough. You know, I don't need to go to a talk to learn a little bit more about why it's so hard. Like, you know, so I kind of told him the concept, and thankfully he loved it. Like he was like, yes, we want to support that. How do we do that? And so we did this evening at the Central Library in Manchester where they closed it. And on a Friday evening, we invited the community. It was about 100 people.
Insane.
But it was absolutely
that was your first
beautiful.
event?
That was the first event.
That was the first
Like we sold it out because it was a really small space, Shakespeare Hall. And it was just so beautiful. People had never been to a night like that.
That night literally felt like my wedding day. Like it was. That's how beautiful it was. That's how much love was like in the room. And I remember looking around, this idea that literally started as such a small seed, transforming into a whole community of people who were so supportive and encouraging and uplifting and positive. And I was just like, we need more of this. We need more of this, not just for us, for our community, for the creatives who've never seen themselves on a stage like this.
Yeah.
To like a night where the Black community feels centered and encouraged and empowered. And so, that's exactly what we decided to do.
I love that, you know, what you said, and I actually heard you say this at the first open mic night that I came to. I heard you say that instead of it being like, you know, like you said, go to an event that's super heavy and almost kind of like negative and having all these connotations. And don't get me wrong, history is important, of course, but kind of like, okay, how do we move forward? How do we empower? How do we uplift? Like, I remember like dancing at that open mic night. Like, I was like, I've not really been to a poetry spoken word night like that. I was like, we're out here, we're all dancing, we're having a good time, it's enjoyable. And I got that feeling. So can I ask you, how long were you, doing like Cultureville for until you then decided to kind of create something else?
That's a really good question. I guess like when we started it under Cultureville. So we never saw it growing into its own organization. To us, it was just like, oh, we're doing Cultureville. Why doesn't Cultureville host this? Do you get what I mean? We didn't see it as a separate thing. I think it came kind of organically. Like in the process of doing that, we're like, wait, it's great to have this one night where we celebrate the creatives, but then they have to go back to their real lives, 100%. Which is still hard, where they still can't pay their bills, where they're still struggling to flourish in their creativity. So I think we did maybe 2 iterations, and then we're kind of like, how do we support them better, like through the year and beyond the event?
How long were you doing it for? Sorry.
I can't remember.
So we set up Cultureville in 2018. The first Black Creative event that we did was in 2022. So it was about 4 years.
Yeah.
So we'd been in like the Manchester creative community for a number of years before we had this idea.
And do you think that was like answering to a need?
Definitely.
So from working with, like you said, you working with all these different creatives, and one thing that I again have seen, and I've only known you guys like 4 months.
Yes.
And I am like an avid fan. I've told you, like, I'm always talking about what you're doing because I think it's so necessary and needed, and it's actually quite different as well, like in the sense of going back to what we just talked about, instead of it being, like heavy and negative and very kind of like, I even want to use the word exclusive, because I feel like for you guys, like, you are very inclusive. You're like, everyone come together, like there's no, I don't know, you have to kind of fit into a certain bracket, like you said. It's and it really kind of reflects what you've just said of, I didn't want to just pick one subject. I want to pick 2, 3, 4, 5. But for yourself as well, because your background's law, were you always kind of into like fashion and food and culture? When did that side kind of come out?
That's such a good question. Like, I guess I always saw myself as very academic. Like, if you come from like a Nigerian home, a traditional home, you're supposed to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. Those are like the 3 routes.
I'm Indian. Pretty much same. Yes. Everyone's a doctor in the family.
And I guess my parents were quite amazing, because my dad had faced those pressures from his parents. So he was kind of like, do what you like. But then I still wanted to be a lawyer, right? And I never saw myself as that creative person. But I guess I loved food. Like, it was in me, if that makes sense. And after university, I moved to Nigeria to get to know my culture, to get to know my people. I always felt like if anything happened to my parents, I wanted to be comfortable to go back to the country where I was born and to know that I'm okay. Like, I have friends here, I have family here, I can navigate it properly, you know, and all of that. And so after university, I was like, okay, I've got to do this legal course. It was called the GDL at the time, and it's not going to be full time. So I'm going to go to Nigeria and I'm going to get to know my culture.
Wow.
And it was kind of scary because I remember all my friends being like, no, you're not. And I was like, guys, I am. And I went to Nigeria, and I remember my dad had moved from Lagos to Abuja.
Yeah.
And I get to the airport and we come out, there's palm trees and the sun is shining. And I'm like, this is beautiful.
Isn't it?
It feels like I'm on holiday. And I just remember that feeling driving from the airport, feeling like I'm going to stay. And so I did a program called the NYSC, where you get to know like other parts of the country. Then I stayed for law school. I wasn't supposed to, but after NYSC, I was like, I'm just going to stay here for law school. And that was another 18 months. And then after law school, I was like, I'm just going to work here for a little bit. And again, that was another year. And in that time, I fell so much in love with the food and the culture and the people, and like started to think about ways that I can support the local economy. Like, how can I support the incredible, talented tailors here? How can I support like the fabric makers and all of that? And like, I'd go to the markets and I'd just be amazed by it. So I guess even though I didn't see myself as a creative, all of these things were kind of being like instilled in me, and I was soaking it all in, such that when I moved back to England and moved back to Manchester, all of those things, I was keen to share all of it.
And I'm just gonna interject for her.
Yeah.
She says like she's never been a creative, but she's always been a creative. Adeola has a like very unique way of like picturing events. She's all about like the human experience. Across our friends, across our family, when anybody needs to put together an event, a holiday, an occasion, so she's the person that they call.
Pre-Nigeria.
This is like since I can remember.
Since high school.
If somebody needs to put something together, she's the party planner. She's the one that calls everybody together, like, guys, this is a plan, this is what we're doing, you're in charge of drinks, you're in charge of food. So she's always been able to like really see people and see what they're able to bring and what they're able to offer, and connect them in a way to make like a whole experience out of it. And I think that's a facet of creativity that people don't really like recognize as creative, but that's exactly what producing is, like putting things together in a way that makes sense. And like she's always done that, and like that's been like transferred into like producing events and producing an organization and producing things for Black Creative Trailblazers. But it's something that I've always seen in her, and like I think she just had to like see it in herself. Yeah,
it's true. I've always loved to put together a guest list. Like when people say event stress, and I'm like, no, girl, how many people are coming? Like, what are we doing? And how do we elevate this? But I never saw it as like creativity, right? I just thought, oh, I'm good at planning things and I enjoy that. But I didn't see it like as anything. But then it's funny because I feel like right now at Black Creative Trailblazers, that's the main of what I do. And I love to do it.
I find that just really funny, actually. It's interesting how probably now in 2025, people understand how creative events and event planning is. But maybe like back then, we didn't really kind of associate the two. It was like, if you're events is organisation, planning, prep, which it is, but it's also vision and execution. And it's funny, isn't it? Because we just had a conversation where I go, guys, I'm not a content creator. And you were like, girl, you are. And I'm like, but I would have never seen that as creative. I would have never seen writing. Funnily enough, I actually never used to see it as creative, which is really strange because it's probably like the most creative thing out there to be able to put pen to paper. Interesting. So you obviously had your like you immersed yourself in the culture, right? But you were in the UK.
Yes, I was in the UK the whole time.
So how did your kind of experience with that come about? Because you were doing politics and tech and again, how did those worlds collide for you?
Okay, so in terms of like my experience, I was studying politics at university, but I always have loved being creative in the same way that she's always been the friend who has like the planning of the events down. I've always been the friend who's had the camera in their hand. Like that has always been me back in Facebook times. Like, you know how you could only like post 5 pictures at the time? I would like spend like hours uploading 150 images, 5 at a time, of like when we go camping with our friends or like when we go on this trip or experience, and I'm always the one with the camera. So I think in that way I've always been creative. I love poetry since I was in secondary school. And so like when when the whole idea of Coachville came about, I was just about graduating uni, and I had a camera already, and I like was great at taking pictures, and she was just like, okay. So she gifted me a portion of the business as my graduation present. And she was just like, so you'll come along and you'll help me with socials, and like we'll do this thing together. I'm like, at that time I didn't have a job because I was just graduating from uni, so I was just like, sure, why not? And so I did all the socials, like our Instagram up, and like we were working on a website behind the scenes, and then she did all of like the production stuff, and that's kind of how it worked. Me using my version of creativity, her using her version of creativity, and that just melded really well together. I think we're very similar, but we also have complementary gifts.
Nice.
So like me being able to put things together in a visual way, or being very good at writing, goes really well with her event planning, because then we'll have both sides of it covered, the marketing as well as like the experience side of things. And so as that evolved into Black Creative Trailblazers, it continued to complement what the other person did. And I think that's kind of how my skills came to the fore. So for Coachville, like I did all of our photography, like, so there was a time where we needed to hire a photographer, and I called Ron, and I was just like, how much is it? And they'd tell me the price, I'd be like, okay, I'm doing it myself. And she'd be like, can you do it yourself? I'm like, I'll figure it out.
Nice.
And you know, half of like getting the thing done is just the audacity to do it. Like, it's just like telling yourself, I can do this, I'm going to try to do this. And you know what, it's not going to be perfect the first time. The first photo shoot we did, about 5 pictures are usable. Like,
that's so funny.
Literally, it was terrible. It was like so bad. But it was really fun, and it was a good learning experience. And now I look back on those pictures, and like, this is where we started. And like, it's been such a beautiful journey, because a lot of the people that we work with at the start, we're working with even till this day.
That's awesome.
But it's the people who buy into the vision and like, you know what, I see you, I understand what you're trying to do, and I'm on board, and I'll support you. And like, we're still walking together even now. I think for me, that allowed me the freedom to create, to improve my photography. And the second shoot was better, and the third shoot was better than the second shoot. And now it's beautiful, and it's been featured in magazines. And like, it's just amazing what we've been able to do with the skills that we both have.
I feel lucky that, like, in a way, and I love, by the way, I love people's kind of first draft, should I say, right? If I look back on my like coaching page, like I've got about 300, 400 posts or whatever, and it's funny because even now, like, and I'm not like big on, and I'm sure when I've been doing it since 2018 till now, for example, you've worked on those skills, and you built and you developed and brought people on, I'm sure, in the sense of worked with different people, collaborated. But if I was to look back on like my first post, I'd be like, oh
yes, oh my gosh,
without those first posts, we
How
wouldn't be where we are today, right?
Absolutely.
I've got to ask somebody, like, listen guys, I'm going to be coming to you guys, I'll be like, can you help me teach me a bit about this branding thing? But anyway,
I think, so I just wanted to add to your point that, like, I think that's one of the best parts of social media. It's like, it's almost like an archive for yourself. Like, you know, because sometimes I think we get caught up with like, how many likes did it get, or how well did it engage? But I think, like, come back in a year, you're going to be so proud of like how much you've grown, or you're going to remember this moment in time as like, oh my gosh, I did that, like how crazy was that, or oh my gosh, I thought that was like so big, but now I've done so much bigger, or just, oh, that was cool, and now I'm doing something different. Do it for you, like, do content for you, so that you can remember those moments. I think in the start I used to get caught up with like, oh, that was a rubbish post, or that didn't look good. And I remember I'd go through and archive things, and it's like, no, now I'm actually proud of the growth. Like, I don't need to archive it because it's a part of my story. 100%. Like, and it doesn't actually matter what the world thinks about it. It matters more that I can see my growth over time, you know.
I love that you said that, because my whole thing is about just like document it and kind of go back and kind of see where you've come. And I think that's the beauty of like even like repurposing things, right? And kind of repurposing it, but from a place of, oh my gosh, like I think you guys, I saw a post where you did, it was a TikTok trend of how many months have you been doing this? And then you were like, months, years, and then you went back and you could see, you could actually see the difference. But that's the beauty of it, isn't it? Like, there's beauty in, like, even I love now, I don't have loads of baby pics, but I love sometimes being like, yo, like, now I'm a big woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was a little bambino here, now I'm a big woman, and like that growth and that maturity. And I had this conversation with someone today, like, a lot can change in a year. A lot can change in a year. But like in terms of like what you're putting out there, right? You're you know, you are working with like brands, organizations that have that like level of quality, and I think the work that you guys put out is of high quality.
Thank you.
It looks great. It looks awesome. It is like a soiree.
It literally
It is like a feast. You know what I mean? It is that.
Yeah.
How do you kind of deal with the pressure of kind of either maintaining that quality or kind of going to the next level? Like how do you deal with it? Because like this showcase that's coming up in October, right? I think you said that there's capacity for how many people? Like
1,200.
Literally.
It's a lot.
Scary.
And don't get me wrong, obviously it's not that you have to, I'm sure, have 1,200 out of 1,200 people, but
we'd love to.
right. So
Shoot for the stars.
how do you keep that like momentum going?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Do you want to go or should I?
You can go.
I think there's a bunch of things that we're learning in the process of like marketing or pushing or curating this event. One is being like really open in terms of our perspective.
Yeah.
Like we have a bunch of ideas from not just for us, but from our team, and we're really good at like asking people to, like we did a whole post that was like, tell us your most unhinged marketing ideas.
I like that.
And like we're really, really open in terms of trying things, like not to get stale.
Yeah.
Like just being like, okay, somebody said something to us last week and they were like, you know, like just throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
You were in that session
It
with
was
Tina.
me. Yeah.
Was it you?
Yeah, it was me.
Ah, Christina also said something similar.
I think you both-
wait, actually, Rose said it. So that's one of my quotes. Throw spaghetti at the wall.
and
But
see
she
what
didn't say it.
sticks. Yeah.
Big ups.
And
All right,
Tina
Tina.
Taylor.
Shout out, Tina Taylor. Hey. Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
literally like the approach that we're taking is like, we're going to try as many ideas
Yeah.
as possible because you don't know what's going to resonate with someone. And so like in terms of maintaining quality, we work with incredibly talented people. Like, you know, one of our key videographers, Sam is so talented in terms of like executing a vision. We'll tell him an idea, he'll bring his ideas, and like our models and our creatives are so on board with actually trying it. And I think we're really blessed with the people that we work with, because in the spaces that we create, there's no like stupid ideas. Just tell us the idea and we'll try and execute it.
Yes.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But fail fast. Like we're just like, okay, if it fails, it fails. But let's not go in and not try and like shoot ourselves in the foot. One of the things that I always say is like, don't be the person to tell yourself no. Like don't talk yourself out of an opportunity or an experience that could be incredible. Try it, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But don't fail before you started. Like, and so that's like our perspective. So we're really open in terms of like what we're willing to do. And I think part of it is like just being willing to be embarrassed.
Yes.
Like being willing to be embarrassed. Like I used to be like very like, oh, we can't do that, that's embarrassing, or oh, I'm shy, or oh, we have to present this like very curated version of ourselves. And actually people connect to authenticity. Our best posts are most relatable, where people have followed us or been encouraged by our journey has been the times where we failed. We've gone on the internet and we've cried about not getting funding. We have been really transparent about how we feel like we're failing in a certain area, and we've told the people about it. And actually like people connect with people, and when you're like
100%.
human and you're willing to own the things that haven't gone well or tell people what you're going through, you're giving them an opportunity to help you, and people are so willing to help. We're in a really supportive community, and they want to see us win, 100%. And so they're willing to like back us in our wild ideas. We'll have like hair and makeup artists that come on board and be like, yeah, I'll do that, because I believe in the vision, and let's just go for it. And like the first soiree that we ever did, like nobody got paid, and it's not something that we're proud of. But the reason why that was, we didn't have any funding at all. All we had was goodwill, and everybody being like, I see the vision, and I think you guys can do this. And so like when it actually came to be and it worked, it was just like, it was a win for the entire community because everybody believed and bought in, and because of that it was able to be successful. And so I think it's just a combination of factors, and I have to give it up to God because really and truly it's the grace of God.
Amen.
Adeola and I are both Christians, and we pray about everything that we do, and we commit it into the hands of God. So the people that God has brought around us, the experiences that we've been able to have, it's all God. Like, we couldn't have done it by ourselves. We're just open, we're willing, we try, and we leave the rest up to God.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I love what you said, by the way, about like embarrassment. I had a conversation with someone before I got here, and I basically said, like, you just have to have like no shame. Like, be shameless with you know, asking, vocalizing, and just being real and saying what's what. I think especially right now, like, authenticity is always going to win. And I think I mentioned this at the workshop, like, you know, on TikTok, like, there's people who are like, stay with me for 60 seconds. I'm like, y'all, I'll stay with you. I feel bad. I don't want your farm to go, sir. I don't want you to lose your farm. But I say that knowing that, like, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, right? It's people who, like, if you're not even there, they'll be speaking about you, and I always say to you guys, your ears must be burning because I'm telling people about it. But that's not even for my sake, like, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, predominantly with what you do, Black Creative Trailblazers, it's for Black creatives, right? So I'm there, like, but I'm telling people because you are doing great work. And question for you guys, because obviously you just you did the creative development program, right? So it's 16 creatives.
12 creatives,
8 weeks.
Oh, wait, including you guys.
It's because of us,
I'm thinking about the food, I was like, then there's 4 of those. And then, all right, 12 creatives, 8 weeks.
Yes.
And they're the ones who are going to be
performing at the
showcase. Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
And I had the opportunity to be there and witness and see, and I was blown away. I was like, how is this the first time you've done it?
Oh, thank you.
Like,
again, I feel like it's just the grace of God. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like it's so beautiful when people come together. Like, it was incredible, wasn't it? Like, and I think just people who are like really ambitious about what they do, they're incredibly talented, and they've never known maybe the way to like monetize their creativity or the skills that even you were able to share, and Tina was able to share. And when they come into that room, they're hungry for the knowledge, and to have it, like, to be able to actually create a space where they can learn, where there's no stupid questions, where you can ask whatever you need, where everybody can be vulnerable and honest about, like, okay guys, I wasn't always this successful. Even the speakers, like you and Tina, were so vulnerable, so honest about, these are my goals, and it may look like I've come a long way, but I'm not even where I want to be. Like, and I'm still having goals, and even at this point, from the outside it looks amazing, but here are some of the challenges I face. But despite those challenges, I've gotten X amount of funding. I've been voted #1 woman of color. I've all the stuff that you've done as well, the trainings that you've delivered, the organizations that you've worked with. And I think it's so much better. Like, it relates to what you were saying, Jane, when it comes from an authentic person, when the person looks like me, speaks like me, goes through what I go through, and I see that they're still making it and they're still trying, then that means I can do it.
100%.
Like, and that's invaluable. And I think that's why it's so important. Like, we don't want some hoity-toity person to come and speak to our creatives. We want somebody who is relatable, and that's why we've launched this. And I'm hoping that it's the first of many that we'll launch, and we'll get to do so many more. Honestly. And that will just be amazing, because we'll go from 12 creatives to 20 to 50 to 100.
You basically hire out the whole space.
Yes.
You'll have to do like you'll have to need like 2 buildings or something. It's kind of like, you know, question for you guys, because you talk about vision, right? And like, you've got this vision, you've had this idea, and then what you're producing, you know, as producers, is just insane. Yes. What do you kind of have, like, a vision of what's going to come next, or are you kind of like, do you know what, like, are you more like proactive or reactive? And I'm saying that not in a negative way of reactive is not necessarily a negative, it's more like responding to what's happening. Or would you say that you've got like a couple of years planned? Like, how does it work for you guys?
I think it's a mixture of the two. With some things we are reactive, and with some things we're proactive. I think we've kind of come from being on that reactive phase to now being proactive. So say for example, a few weeks ago we had the Black Creative Social, and after the social was so amazing. 300 Black creatives at Manchester Museum, takeover, DJ Kimoy B blasting the tunes, and epic evening, right? Talking about well-being, but also like being able to connect with people and have fun with people.
And Manchester Museum,
so good. One of our best and favorite partners in the city, Manchester Museum. We love them. Right? After the social, there's a group of singers outside the museum just singing and harmonizing, and it's just beautiful. It's like 8 creatives, some of those who performed, some of those who they met, some of the volunteers, just getting together and just singing, and they're like, oh my gosh, we should start a Black Creative Trailblazers choir. And like, they say this idea to me, and like, at first, we're like, choir, wouldn't that be great? I go away and I think about it, I'm like, hey, this is a great idea. Because we get so many applications from incredible musicians, but we want to make sure that we can do everything well. So we can't take everybody, but we can take a few people, right? And I'm like, this is such a great way for all these talented singers who couldn't be maybe featured by themselves on stage to actually join something and be a part of a collective. And like, it's just been incredible. And now we've just started the discussions for the choir. We've done a call out on our group, and like I think 20 people have volunteered in the last few days. They want to be on the choir, and so I'm just so excited. That's reactive, right? But that's reactive in the sense of we're talking to our community, we're finding out what they want, and then we're going to execute what they want. We're like, you want this? We're going to make it happen. We're going to bring on the mentors, we're going to bring on the leads, we're going to find you a space where you can rehearse, and we're going to create a space where you can perform at the showcase.
I've actually got someone in mind that we will chat. Potential like someone I've met, and funnily enough, it was a workshop that I delivered here. I delivered a workshop. I feel like Kay's like, oh yeah, you know that woman. She's just saying it now. She's like, please
don't bring me to this.
Listen, I'm tired. She's tired. But there's a woman who came to my workshop, and she's got a CIC as well. Anyway, we'll chat.
We'll talk about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So in moments like that, we're reactive, but in a lot of other ways, I think we're moving to proactive. So we've recently started working on our 3 to 5 year strategy. Because we believe this has to be a good organization with strong foundations. And so we have a consultant who's worked with lots of large organizations and helped them grow. And he's helping us with our growth strategy. And it's around kind of, okay, we're starting a development program. What do we want to do next year, right? How many showcases, how many open mic nights, how many socials where people can get together and they can network? How many workshops, like all of the work that we do is led also by data. Only 4.8% of creatives in the UK are Black, and there's a reason for that, and the industry is worth over £11.5 billion. And we want it to be that Black people and Black creatives can get a cut of that pie, because the talent is absolutely there. What's not there is that business knowledge, that financial knowledge. And so we want to equip Black creatives so they can get a portion of that income. And so how do we make sure that our organization is tackling the problem that we've set out to?
Equally, like some of the other issues that are being faced by Black creatives is not having the same like informal networks as their non-Black counterparts, and not having like that same access to funding and opportunities. And so we've identified what the problems are, and now we're working to reduce those barriers. And I think eventually we want to be part of changing policy that impacts Black creatives. But right now we're dealing with the more immediate problems of lack of opportunity and lack of informal networks. And that's things like the program to bring in mentorships where Black creatives need it, equipping them with the right knowledge that they need to grow in this current phase of their creative practice, getting them to network with one another, because I think there's that like lateral like networking with those who are in the same phase as you, but there's also like the networking with those who are above you, and I think both are important. So creating spaces where they can be immersed and see people who are chasing hard after the same things that they're going after, and knowing that they have a community that they can call on when things are difficult and be like, guys, I'm struggling, I've had this rejection, or this hasn't gone well, and know that they're supported. Because when you feel like you're the only one, isolation is so difficult, and it can feel like the world is just tearing you down. But even if it's your friend, be like, oh girl, saying they rejected me too, or oh, here's how I was able to get in, this is what I put into my application, so next time you apply, do this, do that, and do the other. Like,
don't be a gatekeeper.
Don't be a gatekeeper. Davika said, why be a gatekeeper when you can be a gate opener?
Hey! That's so good. That was super. All right.
I think like one of the key things that I'm learning like is like it's so important to share knowledge. Like
Major.
When you try and gatekeep knowledge, it actually affects you negatively, and it affects the community negatively. And so I think it's so important to be able to call up that person and be like, hey, how much did you charge for this? Or how do you structure your sponsorships? Or how do you structure, bringing this artist on, and how did you navigate that? And I think like one of the best parts about this phase of our journey is like the incredible community in Manchester. Whether that's Pi Radio, Heads, Melanin Markets, just Afro Social, like being able to call the leaders of those organizations and being able to say, hey, I'm struggling with X. How did you navigate that? Or how was working with this organization? Did you find that good? Or like, and then being able to help each other and give each other a helping hand. That's the best. That's one of the best things in Manchester right now, is that we're all helping each other.
I love it. And do you know what's even really funny? And I said this on the workshop, but do you remember that day when you called me and you were like, hey, we'd love for you to come and deliver this workshop to our creatives? I was like, yeah, but I need prayer right now. And you were there and you both prayed for me whilst I was on the phone, and that was one thing I wanted to say. And the second thing, and it's interesting what you said about, networking, like laterally, but also, have you heard of the law of 33%?
No.
I gotta tell you, listen, my partner told me about this.
Okay, go on.
In terms of networking, 33% of the people should be like people you're bringing through with you, right? And I don't mean it like, or someone's behind you, in front of you, whatever, like, but 33% of people you can like mentor and bring forward. 33% of people should be like the people who are like in the trenches with you. Like, you're kind of doing the same thing, you're on the same trajectory. And then 33% of people should be people who are further ahead than you. So if you get that good balance of 33%, then you are part of that ecosystem, you're feeding it, and you're being fed as well. So I just wanted to tell you that.
No, that's beautiful.
It's a good way of like knowing, like, okay, you know what, like, because you can't just pour into everyone's cup. You need your cup being poured into. And that was another question, because obviously you guys are, you're heading up your organization, right? And I'm sure a lot of people come to you, like, what do I do? Where do I go? How much should I charge? And like, there's a lot of probably, when you're in that positions of leadership, right? There's a lot of probably responsibility, pressure maybe at times, maybe there's a lot of, expectation, right? How do you deal with it when, yes, you've got like a team you work with, like volunteers, things like that, but how do you deal with it when the majority of the work falls on you? Like, how have you managed so far? How are you going to manage in the future?
Yes.
And what's the kind of strategy there?
That's a really good question. Yeah.
Managing so far, it's only by the grace of God, girl.
By the grace of God, yeah.
Because it's a lot. We're a very small team.
Yes.
It's Adeola and myself doing most of it.
Yeah.
And we have an amazing team of volunteers for our event days. But honestly, it's literally by the grace of God. The to-do list is so long. It's never finished. And so, like, I think whenever we're chilling, there's always work we could be doing.
Yeah.
And like, there's something that's not being done because we're chilling. But we have, I'm strict with my boundaries. I am. So we don't work on a Sunday. I will not respond to your work-related message on a Sunday because that is our day of rest. We go to church, we spend time with family, we fill our own cups, as you said.
Nice.
And that is like exactly what we do on a Sunday, nothing work-related. For me, Fridays are my strategy days. That's when I look at what the goals are that I set up at the start of the year and how I'm doing in executing those goals, and am I still aligned with what I set out to do at the start of the year.
Is that personal as well?
Yeah, that's like, it's mostly personal, a few business bits, but like mostly it's like, what were the 3 pillars that I said would be of my year? How am I doing with those things? Am I aligned? What has my week felt like? Have I been overwhelmed? Why have I been overwhelmed? What things can I automate in my business or in my personal life to make it easier for me? What habits worked well? Where am I dropping this week that is affecting like my mental health, physical health, all of that kind of thing. That's what I do on my strategy days. And then in the week, we're really lucky that we have a space that we can work, and it's a 24/7 space.
It's 24/7.
It's 24/7 for like the members of the building.
Yeah.
I am a night owl. I try not to fight against my natural nature. I try to be a morning person because I've never been a morning person before.
Same.
And I'll just like be upset if I have to wake up too early, and I'll be irritable. And so yeah, I don't do that. So our meetings most times are not till like after 2. And like when people are like, oh, 9 a.m. meeting, it's not happening. Like, yeah, it's not.
I like that though, because one of the things as a creative business owner, you need to know how you operate.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you'd be like literally just burnt like all the time.
Why fight against yourself?
Some people are like, oh, I've got to work 24/7. I'm like, I've been telling people, I literally feel like I work four times a month and that's it. The rest of the time I'm planning, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think like for us, like we thrive in the evenings and the afternoons, and so I don't mind staying up late. I can stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and it's not a problem for me. But waking up at 7 a.m. is a problem for me, and so like I lean into the areas where I thrive. And then I think like we try to ask for help when we need it. I'm not the best at asking for help, but she's amazing. So she'll reach out to those who can give us advice. She'll reach out to those with the information. She'll ask our volunteers to see if anybody's got like capacity to help us. We have an amazing intern, Megan. We have really good volunteers. Like, so just like leaning on the support systems that we do have, and like just creating time to do the work. Like you have to, as you said, create time where you're planting the seeds, where you're meeting people, where you're brokering those relationships. But there's also, you need the time to do the work, to get the to-do list done, to follow up on those emails. Like, it's hard, but the work has to be done. And also you have to embrace that there's things you won't like. I hate applying for funding, but you need the funding to do the work. So we'll create time to do the funding application. We'll ask for help when doing the funding applications. And like you have to acknowledge that there'll be times where it'll be like the fun parts, the events, the things that you really enjoy, but there'll be difficult parts to it as well. And like when it's a really, really, really hard task, we do it together because it's easier than doing it by yourself. When I had to do a funding application by myself, it was so hard. And so she actually started the application for me. And she was just like, okay, I've done the first draft, you take it from here.
A bit of a tag team.
Yeah, and then I could take it from there and actually finish the funding application because I had her answers as like my starting point, and I could kind of synthesize that and make it stronger. And I think we've got really complementary gifts, so I'm very attention to detail. I get in the weeds with the things. She's very like big picture, like how's this thing doing? Like, let's get it over the line kind of thing. And so like I think that like there's tension there, but there's also like a symbiotic relationship there as well. And so I think it just really helps us, and that's how we manage everything. Like we do the work, we're encouraging to one another. What we try not to do is like fight each other, we're already fighting the world. And so like,
oh, that's good, that like almost kind of like that. Well, you are obviously a team, but like you said, like it's like not. It's like, what's the expression, like them versus us, or but not us as in other people, but like the challenges, the kind of, like you said, the stats that you guys have. And by the way, I love the fact that you brought in stats and detail, and going back to what you said, Adeola, about like actually taking time to create a 3 to 5 year strategy, because one of the things that I have realized, especially with like businesses and organizations, every, you know, not in a rude way, but every Tom, Dick and Harry is building a community, right? And I'm a big believer, like I love community. I think community is awesome. I'm part of a couple of communities myself. Like I've been coming in and out of so many different communities, right? Different ones, but understanding that not everybody needs to build a community or, you know, lead a community, for example, but you guys have got a big social mission attached to what you're doing, rather than just like bringing people together, just here for a good time, long time. Like there's a lot more to it, right? So taking that into consideration, like how do you deal with that? Like how do you kind of deal with the balance of, okay, you know, it's not just like a little, just bringing a few people together, you are doing something kind of groundbreaking. How do you balance that?
I think we try and get support where we can. Like we said, we've not done this by ourselves. We brought on a consultant because we do a lot in the moment, whether that's open mic nights, showcases, socials, events for other organizations that are like monthly, sometimes weekly, like with the development program. And I think it can be really difficult to see the big picture even when you want to. And so bringing somebody external who has been kind of given a task of like helping us build for the future, that has been really helpful for us. We would recommend that for any organization trying to do that, is that when we try to do it, just the two of us who are working in the business, it was really difficult. But then working with somebody else who was out of the business, who could say, okay, what's the revenue from this? How much time do you spend on this? What do you do in this? So this should be what the future looks like. That was so helpful. And it wasn't because we were not capable, but it was helpful to just have a bird's eye view from somebody else who doesn't work in the business to help us do that. And that has been like an amazing process. Yeah, transformative. Like it's been hard for us to come out of here because we're like, but this is happening and this is happening. And it all feels urgent. Like this is a really great time for our organization. Like I feel like so much is happening and that's amazing. But like you said, we have a really big mission and we don't want to lose sight of the bigger picture. So for us, what's been most helpful is to bring somebody else in who can ask us the right questions, who can help us, you know, gather data we need to like have the impact or to guide us in terms of what we want to do. And he's done that with things that we've told him. Yeah. But it's helpful that he's helped us do that. And that's the thing that's been most helpful, I would say. Yeah.
Amazing. I love it, and I love that you bring it back to data because you know we're not out here just. We're not just doing like a little hobby. This is not no little hobby, no little business or anything. This is like real impact and change.
Yes.
Which kind of brings me on to the final question, but because we've talked a lot about, you know, the work you guys are doing, right? As individuals, you are also doing amazing, right? Personally, professionally, as people. What's next for you guys in the next, so we talked about 3 to 5 years, Black Creative Trailblazers.
Yes.
Where do you see yourself in sort of 3 to 5 years? And again, don't worry if it's like 5 whole years, like time, things change. Where do you guys see yourself, like where do you see yourselves forecasting? I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah. Jane, you have a really good answer to this that you always say.
So I want the business to be able to run itself.
Nice.
For me to be able to like step up, be able to take a step back from like the day-to-day activities.
Sure.
And to have enough like staff, enough revenue, enough good processes in place that it's able to run like without us in the day-to-day.
Yeah.
So we're free to think about like brokering those bigger relationships, the bigger vision, and going out and doing more with the organization, but the day-to-day activities don't get neglected because we're not in it. And that's kind of where I see us in the next 5 years.
Amazing. And you've got some like top quality people just handling. You're done with it. No, you're not done now, but like someone else can do the socials.
Yeah,
Someone
I'll be
else
sad
can
to
do
let
this.
it go.
You'll be there like
Sending messages like,
I
try not
the
to be a
right shade of
micromanager.
brown.
Yeah. Ooh,
No, I am
listen,
very
put
specific.
it there. Listen, attention to detail, but literally the skill of delegation.
Yes.
And you're practicing right now. Anyway, aren't you? You're
trying.
practicing.
Yeah.
Like, all right, big shout out, Megan.
Shout out
Megan.
Oh my god.
Our intern Megan is so amazing.
She's on it.
We love her.
She's like, I'm like, girl.
Yeah, she's independent, she's intelligent, we love her, and she's such a blessing.
And also, and I saw how you, that particular day, I saw how you also were treating her and like nurturing her. So I'm sure she would say the same. So that, again, credit to you for also making an environment where you can nurture the potential in people.
Yes.
Because that's what you do, right? I'm sure that's what you do. Yeah. And Adeola, for yourself, 3 to 5 years.
Wow. I think I just want to be happy. I want to be joyful.
Yeah.
I want to see like fruit from this.
Yes.
So I always say like the people that we are mentoring and we're in these workshops in, I want them to have grown to being successful, and then I want them to come back and sow fruit and like invest in the organization, invest mentorship to the younger people that are coming through. But they can have that confidence that they can do it because they can see somebody else who's come through the organization and done it. And then I think like Jane said, like just freedom, you know, freedom to not be in the details, but to trust that part to other people and to be able to start to do the work on policy that actually makes life, you know, right now we're focused on Manchester and the Northwest, but like how do we impact the nation, how do we impact globally, and to be able to focus on that, you know, but also to have like more free time, because
Yeah.
right now I can't imagine going on a holiday with the showcase coming
Yeah.
up. I just feel like people are asking me, when are you going on holiday? I'm like, that is not on my mind.
Yeah,
That is
I
in
need to get through.
2026.
I need to get through this year, and it just feels impossible. So I want to be able to take a trip.
Yeah,
I want to be able to see my friends. I feel like I've been in this for so long that I've not been able to give to those around me in the way that I usually would. It feels like it's my baby and it's taken everything that I have. But I want to be able to sow into the people around me.
Wow.
And I think like that would hopefully be the future. It's just joy and happiness and seeing that vision that we have come to life and seeing people succeed from like the knowledge they've gained and the contacts they've gained and the opportunities and the work, and then having them come back and give back, and just observing that and being happy to have an impact on our world.
Well, you guys, you already know how I feel about you, and I genuinely believe like you've got some really, really, really good hearts.
Thanks.
And I think that shows even the little time I've seen you, like just seeing how you operate, and even when I called you back to see where you were, and you were like, hey, and I was like, I'd be like, hi, and I don't know where I am. Like, you know what I mean? Like even just that, and like being able to be that type of person. You're amazing. And can I just say thank you for actually, because I know you're very busy. I know you're very busy people. You're out here marketing this event hard. Like you are busy. So the fact that you've actually taken some time to come here and share your story and share your vision and share what you're doing, I appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
And big things are coming for both of you.
Amen.
Amen to that.
And thank you
Ladies.
for having me.
Oh,
Thank you. Appreciate
Oh,
you.
but ladies, we do this thing. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the episodes. So we hold hands.
Ooh,
I know.
Like,
This is.
Intimate.
I know. I bet you're like.
Usually they buy me dinner.
Yeah. So what we do, we say at the same time. I'll count us down, and then we'll go. Here's to pivoting more in 2025. So what was that? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Here's to pivoting more in 2025.
Yeah!
If you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to pivot, maybe you're working a 9 to 5 and you want to pivot into freelance life or pursue creative endeavors, then do not hesitate. Go on my website, www.dkcoaching.co.uk, and book in a free discovery call where I can sit down with you and figure out your next steps.